Hi, this is a video about some success I've had kind of finally in getting neovim to allow me to edit Julia code, that's code in the Julia language, and to run that code. And I'm going to be showing you two panels. I'm using tmux here, terminal multiplexer, and you can do all of this with different multiplexer types. Um, Okay, so you can see at the bottom of this window that I have two things. One is named Julia, the other is named ZSH. And I'm going to go back and forth between the two, but I'll start with the one called Julia. And I just click the mouse into the top window. This is Julia code. The bottom window is it's a running Julia, so the prompt here, Julia. Okay, so I'll tell you just how it works. So to run some code, and I have my prefix set to be space. It's a kind of a lazyvim convention, and I'm using lazyvim. So I'm going to press space and then a T for the thing is called tunnel. It's spelled with two L's, but anyway, it's not the normal way of spelling in English. But yep, so tunnel. I'm not going to bother configuring it because I've already done that, but I'll do T. It's going to run a cell. A cell is between, can you see the color? I'm going to call it orange. That's in the first line there, the hash, and then percent percent. Between those entries is called a cell. So I'm going to do a T to run the cell. So that's what's just happened. It's just run that cell. So I've created a vector called theta, which has the entries 10, etc., and so on. Okay, so that's it, basically. So that works. Now I'm going to show you how I set it up. And to do that, I'm going to show you three different files. Okay, so the first is my tmux configuration. You don't probably need this, but I'm just showing it to you anyways. And I think the main thing for me anyways is this line right here. What I'm doing is I'm setting the prefix to be control X. Um, I mean, I think the default is control B or something like that. I don't really know why I chose control X, but that's about all that you need there. I'm gonna kill that one. And now I'll show you two more. One is how I set up tunnel. And this is in, the you can see at the bottom where it's at. It's in my .config slash nvim slash lua slash plugins, and then it's tunnel.lua. And what I'm doing is I'm running this sour proton, it's a good name, with some options. And these options are actually, let me just change that. That's probably what I want for most things. I had set it up for an option for which I might use on a wider screen, in which I had the tmux windows side by side, but here I'm showing you top and bottom. And I'll show you in a second how. Maybe I'll just switch over to that. So if you want to figure out how to name these things, what you do is in your tmux you do. And that tells me that the top window is a one. Did you see the one there? So the top window is a one, and the second window, the lower window, was a two. So that's what that tells me. And actually, maybe I'll just do space T config. So I could change that cell header to whatever I want. And I've already set that to two. I set that to two manually. So the configuration that you saw in the other window, I had already done that. So speaking of the other window, I'll just go back now to that. Um, this is straight from Sour Proton's configuration on his or her website, on their website. Um, and so here are some key maps. I'm just using the key maps as suggested. They seem good to me. So TT, that would be space for my thing. Leader is set to space. Space TT. In normal mode, that's this line here. In normal mode, would run that's the whole cell. It finds a cell and it runs the whole cell. And if I had marked stuff with V, highlighted, like I'll just sort of do that. That's what I mean. If I had marked stuff like that and I was in like V mode, it must mean it's visual. I don't know what that stands for actually. Then we just run those lines and TC does the configuration. So that's what that is. And I'll show you, if I get rid of that guy, and I'll show you one more thing. I have a macro in my bin directory which I call comma J. It's a Z script macro. It's a Z script, actually. I don't know why I'm calling it a macro. And I make a lot of them be called comma something because then it won't conflict with with other things that you install. A lot of people do that, use comma or something for dot makes a hidden file. So I would suggest using comma for things that you've made. Okay, well, I was blathering. If you know anything about tmux, you can see what I'm doing here. What I'm doing is I'm going to be making a new sort of session. I'm going to send neovim to some file. So basically, the way I work it is comma j space and then a file name of some Julia text. That's that line does, and then I'm going to split the window vertically. Just because I like that for this. Could have been horizontally. I'm going to rename the second window as Julia. I'm going to send the text Julia enter into the second, and then I'm going to select a pane at the end. So that's all that does. That's all the configuration you need actually. And after you've got that done, this just works, and it's pretty handy. I'm liking it. It took me quite a while. I played with different things, and I honestly, it's just my inadequacy. I got quite confused on even just how you name windows. Took me a little while before I finally thought, I better just look at the docs for tmux because I've forgotten that how you name windows. That's it for me. Hope this was useful. I think it's quite good. And maybe I'll just tell you why it's quite good. At the bottom of this, I'm calling gradient. Great, and because what I'm doing is I'm teaching myself how to use Flux for AI work in Julia. And gradient takes a little while. It takes a little while the first time you run it because when using Flux takes a little while. But if I run this over and over again, it knows in the session that I'm already using Flux, so it becomes very fast. That's why I prefer this way of working sometimes to just being in the command line and running Julia space file name. As you're debugging, it's useful to do this. I still think it's really helpful to do like that every once in a while. I'm not a big fan of doing too much coding interactively. I think it's good to get outside and make sure that you've got your variables set properly in that way. That's the end of the video. Thanks for watching. Take care. Bye.